G'day guys and welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable and enjoy some great company with Mark, Ian and Jono. Thanks to our friends at SSAA and Beretta Australia, we're here to help you make the most of everything you love about hunting, shooting and the great outdoors. Good evening to you, sir.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Have you caught up on sleep?
So what?
Have you caught up on sleep yet?
Yes, I have, but I actually was thinking about how polite we were to each other on that Monday morning at 3 a.m. It's like we'd been reduced to like, I can step forward. I can put my hand here. Like all motor skills had gone.
Oh, Monday when we arrived.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah, it was a long drive. Yeah, it was like, there's the spare bed.
That's right. And you went,
let yourself out. Bye.
I'm cold. I go get my puffer jacket. The car is locked. What am I going to do? My brain. I have another puffer jacket. It's like, okay, brain, fire. Okay, there's another jacket in my truck.
Were you cold? Were you cold while you were trying to sleep?
Yeah. Listen, before we go any further, tonight's episode is brought to you by
Lower Boots.
Yes.
Valhalla Tactical, no doubt.
Yes, I was going to say brought to you by the very nice people at Valhalla Tactical and Outdoors. So I want to get that out of the way. So I wanted to ask you a question, and you may not have noticed because you probably fell straight to sleep, but did you hear a noise like a yell or a scream?
No, I was asleep.
Okay, so this is what happened.
Hang on, let's peel back a bit. For the punters. We've just travelled 1,400 kilometres in 14 hours, less than 14 hours, and we just got back at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I pointed Mark towards the spare bed, and I before I even walked in the house, my eyes were shut. Yes. I was so dead tired. I was gone.
So basically we left, we could see the Victorian border from where we were, and we drove from the border through New South Wales, through Canberra, back into New South Wales and into Queensland in one big leap, leaving at around, 11 a.m. and getting in about 3 a.m. the next morning. So I was asleep in this small 8 by 8 foot room type thing, and there was a bird in that room, and it was flying around above my head.
That bloody starling.
With only like and what happened was that gave me a nightmare that there was someone in the room. And I had that weird thing where I woke up and screamed or yelled or whatever it was, but I don't know if that was part of the dream or that actually happened.
Oh.
You know, when you dream that you wake up? So I went, ah! And then I woke up and went, did that just happen? And then I could hear that above my head.
Oh yes, yes. So the room that Mark stayed in is a shed room I've been building, which has a multi-story. It's a mezzanine floored thing. Anyway, it's built in the shed for guests for exactly this scenario. Probably more for me when I get turfed out by my wife because she's cranky for whatever reason. But anyway, a little family of starlings or swallows or whatever they are.
It is a swallow, yeah.
Have bloody taken up residence, and I'm fighting them. I dare not shoot rat shot in the shed for fear of it going through the iron. It probably wouldn't. It's just salt shot. But anyway, that's what was in the room with Mark. I'm pretty sure I said there's a resident bird in here as I left.
It was, and I could hear it. Well, it was like I could hear it flapping in the dark. So I thought, I don't want swallow shit on my head. Threw my jacket over my head and went back to sleep. And at 5:45, got up, got in the car and drove home.
Right.
And because I wanted to see my boys before they went to school, and I caught them on the way to school. So I was very happy about that.
Oh, that's good. Good job.
Yes.
It was a good trip. I'm glad we punched through and we didn't bother stopping. I mean, it was a reasonably easy trip in the end.
Oh, look, I have now driven in a Land Cruiser and I have driven a Nissan Patrol, and I have made a decision which one I like more. And that will stay there. But
was that on the same weekend? You're not comparing my Patrol to the 30-year-old Cruiser, are you?
Well, I am, yes.
Oh, hopefully I came out on top of that argument.
That's it. So the reason for all this, guys, if you haven't been followed, is we were invited to the Hellenic Hunters, I suppose, a branch meeting to speak, and they're in Sydney. So we drove from, so I left Brisbane, met up with Ian at Toowoomba. We drove down. In fact, Sydney traffic wasn't that bad when we arrived. Got to the clubhouse and immediately started eating.
Yeah.
And that kind of dominated the whole weekend. And we gave a presentation and then left around 11 p.m. that night. So we'd been up for a while then. Went to Jerry, one of the club founders, his place. He put us up for the night. And then the next morning we drove 6 hours to basically inside of the Victorian border around Bondi State Forest, that whole system. It's Bondi, to hunt Samba as guests of the club. And that was a fantastic weekend. It really was a fantastic weekend. So as a part of that too, we met Robert Borzak Jr., who was also speaking at the presentation. Also, Brian Boyle was there, and Pat. I can't think of Pat's last name. He was
Boulder Creek Archery.
Wild Creek Archeries and the EXO Boulder Creek Archery and the EXO packs, which I was quite impressed with actually. Those EXO
nice pack, aren't
they? They are very nice. So, should we dive into the forest and the experience and all that kind of stuff?
Well, the first thing I wanted to say, and you've already touched on it a bit, was the hospitality of the Hellenic Hunters. Unbelievable. So big shout out to those guys. As Mark said, we arrived after leaving Queensland or you left home at 3 a.m., left my place at 5, and we rocked up sometime around 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Sydney. And the club started to come to life about 5:30. The barbecue was on. There was plenty of lamb, plenty of very nice white bread that they have a name for that I can't remember. Lots of yummy, yogurts and stuff that went on top of it. And holy damn, did I eat my weight in good Greek goodness. So it was great. They never left us thirsty. We left with a swag of merch from the cupboard and had a great time. A super friendly bunch, a really great turnout, lots of people, lots of questions. It was just a really great club meeting. And I kind of reminds me of some of the meetings of old that I used to go to that, people were in good spirits and got around and spoke to everybody. But, yeah, they just run a fantastic club. So I'm now a member.
So am I.
There you go. We're all members. We're patched up.
512 or something, I think. Joined.
So that's really good. And then the trip, probably hadn't thought about it too much. People keep saying, "Why did you go Samba hunting for 24 hours?" Probably didn't think too hard about where the block was from their club. They just said, "Yeah, come down to the meeting and then we'll go hunting on our block." 5 hours later, we're at the block, which is no different to us zipping down to Nundle. A little bit shorter, of course, but the facilities that they had where they were excellent, weren't they? A really good property and facilities to hunt from, and somewhere I look forward to going back to.
Yeah, I mean, really, it wasn't a Samba hunt. It was more of a weekend visit, and the opportunity to to lay eyes on Samba. Certainly, we'll be going back with more time, most definitely. For those who haven't hunted that part, so especially for a lot of the Queensland listeners who haven't been that far south, because we're actually almost, as I said, you could see the Victorian border. Completely different forest than you would encounter, say, from Nundle up to the Queensland border. So a working pine plantation. This particular one reminded me a lot of Pennsylvania when I hunted at Pennsylvania. So you can glass for literally kilometres. You can get in a vantage point and you can see a long, long way. Thermals came in really handy in the mornings. So you could a kilometre away, you could say, okay, there's deer out there. And so you could plan your approach. Of course, we're not using thermal scopes, but we could use the thermal binoculars to say, there's deer, and then make our way towards them and hopefully ambush them when you have shooting light. That was a completely different experience. You know, in the afternoon, I sat down with Evan on our backs against a tree line, and, you know, literally you could see for kilometres. If the deer were about, you know, in the open, or you could see them moving, you'd be able to see them. So it's that first place, you know, that you really could use things like spotting scopes and your you know 10 by 50 binoculars and things like that. So that was really quite interesting. I felt that the gear, though, that I had probably wasn't well suited for that kind of shooting. Certainly some cases were, because you also at other times got really, really close. I walked a particular creek line, and that would have been, you know, very close shooting, and you got yourself in a great position where, you know, you're within 70 metres of them. So, you know, I've been thinking about my rifle setup since we've come back, and what I want to what do we want to do, what I want to do about that, and how am I going to do that for next year. But again, it was just I know people said we didn't go for long enough, but that 20 or 36 hours really gave me an understanding of what it would be like next time and how to be better prepared for it too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it was a bit of a case for me. I took 2 rifles. I took the Lupo 3006 with the Eliminator 6 on it, so it was, you know, really geared for punching good distances. And I'd been out to the range, and I was comfortable, you know, hitting gongs at 400 and 500. So I was okay with those sorts of shots. Not that that's the kind of shooting that I want to do, but, you know, big stag walks out and he doesn't give you much of an opportunity. Then I had that choice, which was quite good. The second rifle that I took was the 7mm Rim Mag. I was getting that ready for the territory, so I wanted to just to take it for a walk, make sure it was doing what I wanted it to do. And of course, we put the full field 2-8 on it, so it was my light, easy carry scrub gun. You know, it's not a short barreled gun, but, you know, as far as ultralight with a tiny little scope on it, it's super, super light. And, you know, it was going to be good for, you know, that 2 to 250 max. Yes, those rifles can shoot more. Yes, I could do more with that scope probably, but that's what I'd geared it up for. And I think I put myself in the situation where I had to choose which rifle I was going to take on one particular afternoon, and I chose the wrong one. I could have done better with the other, and that's always going to be the case, you know. It's just the luck of the draw, unfortunately. And you know, even if I had the BRX with the Steiner on it, you know, the Predator 8, it's a great scope. It's the one I've been shooting a lot with recently. You know, I would have felt super comfortable with that on one of the sit sessions as well. But, you know, for what it was, and using the thermals like you explained, you know, people are down on thermals a lot. I get that. But this is our opportunity to explore it and share our experience. And it's probably the best way that I've used them. I mean, I've used thermals by walking through state forest before. I've always said I don't particularly like them because you get very tunnel visioned into thermal and what the thermal can provide. You know, you spend your life in devices. Do you want to stick your head in another one when you go hunting? It's kind of not for me, but it really had its place there. And for that, you know, we were able to look over those big, you know, multi-kilometre logged, you can't call them paddocks, but, you know, big mountainsides that have been completely logged. And you could see bunnies, you could see roos, and then you could see deer. And with the good quality thermal, you could see that they were deer. You could see 4 feet, you could see big ears, you could see, you know, the outline of the animal, and you could really make a tactful decision on how you're going to approach it. And even with all of that technology, the deer were still nocturnal enough that, you know, we put ourselves in good positions, but they took the last step into cover within a minute or two of shooting light becoming good enough.
That's right.
We just told us what we couldn't shoot in the end.
Yeah.
But it helps you make a game plan. I think that was the valuable part for me.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, to explain, we were using the Pixtra thermals. We had the Mile 2, which is the small, very compact single tube style thermal, and the Arc LRF, which is well, not big, is I suppose
hand size, that
traditional more of a handheld, traditional handheld style. The Arc LRF is a high end product within the Pixtra range. The Mile 2 is and that's a Mile, MILE 2, is very much to entry level. The Mile 2 would give you clarity that there was things out there, and then you could kind of say that's a small dot, it's probably a roo. That's a big long dot. That's that's a deer. Whereas the LRF, the ARC LRF, actually gave you that's deer. I can see a deer. Yeah. So, and the way we use those is that literally we would look somewhere between 1 and 2 kilometers away and kind of go, we can see them moving just before light. And we go, okay, they're heading towards that tree line. Let's see if we can get in position before they slip into the tree line. And on all occasions, they slipped into the tree line before we were able to locate them or get a clear shot on them. So whilst it gave you some advantage, as in it kind of helped you direct which way to go, it certainly was it was no easy beat for them. That gave you no advantage whatsoever in terms of getting on the game. And basically by not long after first light, they kind of went away. They're stuck in your pocket. Because then you start to read things like rocks and all sorts of other things. So they were really very handy and very useful within a small window of time. There was one particular part where there was Samba on this particular crest. They were in a tree line on this crest. It was, I think you describe it as almost like a castle or something, or a fort. And we slugged it up there twice in one day, actually. And on that second time, going through some really heavy cover and coming around, we actually got eyes on a Samba stag and a hind. I got into shooting position, but they were just, they were moving. They weren't hightailing it, but they were moving.
It was on the trot. Yeah,
I couldn't get a shot on. I didn't feel comfortable with the shot on place on the stag, especially since that was the first Samba I'd ever seen with a rifle in my hand. So I wasn't upset or anything. I was actually quite glad that we managed to go through that heavy scrub and actually locate them. That was quite It was
a good little victory, I thought.
Yeah, I was really very happy about that. And then one of the other hunters saw them, and they literally travelled a kilometre within seconds into another gully. Once they got in the open, they were they were reasonable around us, but as soon as they got into the open where they had to make a break between the tree lines, they really opened it up and got to that other tree line very quickly. So we knew they were there. The area seems to carry great numbers of deer. They're there. It's just really big, and it's mountainous, or it's very long gullies and lots of creek systems. So it's a very much a large, big space that you need to hunt.
We only saw
fraction. God, I don't even know how much we saw 5%, if that. We were in this this 5 by 5 square kilometre area most of the time, and there was deer there. So, Trevor got a deer on his first afternoon, head out with Peter, and they spotted a deer, and Trevor was able to take a deer. So there was success, and I believe the guys took another deer on Monday. I got that from Evan. I don't know who took it, but they got another deer on Monday. So that was pretty, really quite a, eventful weekend. And we also got to see the miniature black poodle in action.
Fierce Greek pointer.
Yeah.
Small but mighty. Keep coming up with these things.
That's it. Sat down. When he said, when it sits down, there's deer about. Sat down, and we've got the binos out. And sure enough, there was a Samba. And that stag, I felt, if that stag broadsided, I would have been quite happy to shoot that stag. I was looking at that. It was just over 200. I think I had about 213, 214.
The one up on the top near the fort.
Yeah, that hind that was through the trees.
Oh, the hind.
All I ever had was like a bum shot, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, right. So Mark's talking about one of the afternoons we're being placed into different spots for a sit for a couple of hours into the late evening or the late afternoon into the evening. We went to a spot that I was being dropped off first, and we sat down there for a few minutes, and within about 2 or 3 minutes, Peter had spotted a hind on the opposite face, and it would have been 220 to 250 meters across the face, but it only gave us a back quarter, or then it gave us one front shoulder. It never gave us a full broadside shot. So it was nice to actually just sit there and watch it. And it was moving, it was feeding, so it was moving between trees, and eventually it moved out of sight and came back into sight a few times, but it was just cool to see it. For some reason, I never even had a thought in my head to take a shot at that one, just because of it.
No, I was watching it and I thought, that's quite shootable.
220's definitely shootable.
I shouldered the rifle and, full and scope, and I was looking at it and going, but it wasn't just quite the particular angle we were at, where it was, I never saw a decent broadside. I always kind of saw a hind quarter or a very quartering shot. I thought, there's no shot there. Distance was fine. Caliber was fine. Everything else was fine. There was just no shot there. And I mean, would have easily take a good solid rest. We're on a slope, so finding a good solid rest on a tree would have been no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I had no idea we were there, and we watched for a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes even.
Yeah.
Before Mark and Peter and the mighty Greek pointer disappeared off to their spot, and I sat there for a couple of hours and had quite an experience while I was there.
But it was really interesting seeing the different behaviours of the deer. Samba have behaved very differently to red they seem to like water for a start. They seem to be around that wet, soggy stuff a lot more, which you don't often see that, or I don't often see that anyway, which I found quite interesting. They're right deep in those creek systems, and because there's so much water there and it is cold, that those creek bottoms and the flats are wet and soggy and cold, and seem to be much where the Samba seem to like to go in the afternoon.
Yeah. That afternoon that I was sitting watching that hind on the opposite face, I let an hour and a half go by, and I was just watching, and then a really nice stag stepped out, and this would have been, I reckon, after sunset, 5 minutes or so after sunset. So it was getting dim, but it was still, easily shooting light, and I could see the stag that had come down. Actually saw it come down, had it in the binos, could see a big-bodied animal, really nice rack on it, and I just thought, this is actually going to happen here. And it walked, and like I say, it came straight down into the creek and muddled around in the creek. It didn't present a decent shot, but it was coming towards me. So I thought, I'll just wait for this. And it came halfway, so into an island, basically, into the middle of the creek. There was this sort of islandish system. And in the middle of that, we later found out was a big preaching tree, lots of rubs. So as that stag came into the middle, still didn't present a shot, pulled the thermal out, and I was watching it with the thermal, and I could see it, perfectly in the thermal, preaching up into the tree, just putting an awesome display on. And if it had taken 2 or 3 steps in either direction, I would have been okay. I would have been able to get a shot away. But again, this is where this whole tunnel vision thing came in again. I was watching it. I was so excited. In fact, I was honestly shaking when I put the thermal up to my eye, because there's this big stag in front of me, and it was big Samba, and I was like, yes, look at this. This is amazing. But through my binos, I couldn't see it. And the interesting thing about thermals, if you haven't used them, they can see through thin brush, right? Well, your binos can't easily anyway. So I was able to see the full form in the scope, in the thermal, but I couldn't see it through the scope, and I couldn't see it through the. So I was holding the rifle up, and I was just willing it to step out, and every now and then I got a glimpse of it in the scope, but nothing shootable. And I watched it for a good 20 minutes, and it didn't move out of that area. It was just laying scent down and preaching into the tree. And it was getting probably to the last bit of light. There was no way really I was going to get a shot at that distance where he was. So I thought, it's up. I've managed to spend time watching. That's been really great. I panned around, and there's 3 more Samba, but they weren't at 200 meters. They were at 70 meters, right in front of me. I was like, oh man, I've been watching this stag for so long. I didn't even see these 3. Panned a little bit more to the right. There's 3 more. So I had 6 Samba in the creek bed in front of me, 70 to 100 meters away, in the last tiniest bit of light. Honestly, couldn't really see them very well through the binos. I could see full shape perfectly in front of me with the thermal. But right in front of me, there was a patch of sand, white sand. And from where I was, I thought if one of them steps in front of that white patch of sand, I've got perfect view through the binoculars, full form, no problem, can definitely make it out. that would be my only chance. And that's exactly what happened. One stepped out into that area, and that's the one that I put the crosshairs on, and I put a top of shoulder neck shot on it. Watched it go down onto the ground, pulled the thermal up, could see it. Yep, everything's fine, could see it. Collected my stuff, got the shakes to stop a little bit, and then went down there, and the thermal signature had gone. It had got up and disappeared. So I'm thinking maybe it's this hydrostatic shock. I've hit it in a part of the neck that's not vital. I didn't get its spine. It's gone down. It's got shock. It's got back up. It's left. Don't know exactly what happened, but certainly went back to camp, rallied some troops, went back with torches and more gear, and looked around for it. But it was definitely gone. We didn't recover it, unfortunately. So, bit of an experience, a bit of a shame to lose it. But man, oh man, like you say, that last 20 minutes of light, that magic hour that you talk about all the time. It's exactly what happened. Everything's pop. It's like Samba popping up out of the ground. I was like, holy shit. So there were seven in that little piece of creek system. I've got to wonder how many more there were.
Well, interestingly, I heard both shots. So I heard Trevor's shot.
Oh, yeah.
So I was, distance-wise, it wasn't that far where I was. And I was coming down that creek, and I was just starting to go, it's just getting too dark now, because what was my area was the Samba come through the pines, cross this quite spectacular, really it's a river, and then feed on a cleared open face on the other side. And the idea is you use the creek as cover to look at that other face. And you could see that, there's prints galore of them crossing over.
Won't they leave some trails? And
there was some amazing amount of traffic. And so it just got to this like really perfect place where the cover was more on the other side of the river. So I had a better view. I wasn't looking straight through stuff at 10, 15 feet. It was like 30, 40, 20, 30 meters away. So it opened up, and I was just losing light there, and I'm going, I bet you I'm going to see something on that hill, and I'm not going to be able to scope it through the rifle. And then I heard your shot.
Yeah.
Went, there's another shot. So, yeah. And actually, like all the things, it sounded like it came from behind me, but it was actually way in front. But yeah, it was, so we were all in a really quite a, not a particularly big part of the hunting area we were all hunting was quite close. And we actually went above where you were and looked down. And of course, when we walked in together, it looked like that was a huge kind of creek system. From the other side, you realised how small it was. It was just a small tree cover in an otherwise open paddock, and that's why it drew so many Samba there, because it was the natural timber in an otherwise cleared paddock. So yeah, it was really eye-opening how you went, oh, okay, we're just in a very small area that's holding a lot of deer. So yeah, that was really quite spectacular, realizing how many deer are there.
Yeah, well, over the 24, 30 hours that we were there, I tallied up that I personally saw 17 Samba. And I'm not talking about from the other side of the valley. I mean ones that we were approaching. We saw 4 feeding into the tree line. We saw 3 the next day feeding into the similar part of the tree line. We walked in on the ones at the top of what we called the fortress. We had one break from cover to our left. We had 2 or 3 break to with the stag plus 1 or 2, and then the ones that dropped into the creek. There were animals. There were animals around, and I'm not going to say, I'm definitely not going to say Samba are easy to hunt. Because just by the nature of the terrain they live in, that would be a false statement. But I'm also going to say they weren't difficult to find.
No.
They were around. They were there. We saw a lot of them, like we said, with a thermal, just to point us in the right direction. That disappeared. That you probably wouldn't see if you didn't have a thermal with you. You wouldn't have seen where they were to start with. But we also saw some midday.
Yep.
Or late morning, that stag we saw.
That second group we saw where I actually got on the rifle, I can actually tell you when we saw them because I'll look at one of the photos.
Yeah. Well, we went on our morning hunt, and we'd done 5 or 6 kilometres of walking back up to headquarters. When we got there, we had a big breakfast and a sit down and a bit of a debrief, and then we said, no, those ones, they're still up there, bedded down in the top of the turrets of where the tree line was on the top of the knoll, and we went, you know what, we'll go back. So there's another hour down and back up again. Had to be up past 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, and they were there. They were there and they were moving. And granted, we pushed them, so they were moving, but it certainly was possible.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a timestamp on the camera. We took those photos afterwards. That was here we go. Geez, those photos that we took, which were just after we saw them, they were at nearly 1 p.m.
There you go.
So we saw those deer at midday. They were midday deer. And what I found really interesting is like when we were crossing just clearfelled areas, so you know it's soft muddy ground because again it's quite cold and there's a fair bit of water around. The amount of deer traffic through those otherwise open paddocks was phenomenal. There was just prints everywhere.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, they're big prints. They're big animals.
And all the ash of the fire is just stomped in. Yeah.
So lots and lots of deer there. So if you're thinking about going down, there's certainly plenty of deer down there. Worth having a look.
Yeah.
Other things.
The other thing I'd mention, just about just a small amount of time, but the use of the thermal again. I felt like it gave us a really good way to plan an ambush. We were there for 2 mornings. So, morning one in a particular area, we saw 4 animals feeding towards the tree line. And at the pace that they were moving, it was obvious to us before we even stepped off that they were going to beat us to the tree line before the light. But there was always a chance. So you take the chance. Of course, you don't leave deer to find deer, especially when you're leaving early in the morning. And you never know what's on the other side of the ridge. But we got there, we watched them feed up into the hill, and off they went. And that was half an hour before legal shooting light, which was also well before visible glassing light. So they were gone. The next day, we saw hind and yearling, I guess. It was about a yearling size, feeding the same direction into the same bush line as those 4 did the day before. So now we've got a pattern of movement, animals coming from down below and moving up into that area. Had we been given ourselves another day, if we had one more day, we'd strategized how this would work. Now we found the access, we found another way to come in over top, and we could comfortably have been in an ambush position up the top, letting them feed up to us. So I just feel like, more time is always better.
Yep.
But, it was just a matter of time in that location.
And that's right. That second day, and that hillside was just covered in print. So that was obviously a fairly regular track. In fact, there was a track up that hill, or had been a track, obviously, for the vehicle access, and they were walking on that.
Yeah.
But that second day, it was very close to light. I remember trying to glass them, going, it's just still too dark, and we were about 400 meters behind them. But as you said, knowing where that goes, and we found that other point, we could have been in a position before dark, and they would have been coming towards us, and they would have appeared for us right on shooting light. Would have been actually a really good place to be on light. That was that. Basically, that was the kind of intelligence that you garnish from using a thermal. You get to see movement, and that's why how I use thermals in the Brisbane Valley. I very rarely use them after first light, but what it does is when you're about to kick off, you can go, okay, what's in this paddock that I'm about to walk into? What am I gonna bump in the dark here? And you can actually see the deer, and you go, okay, they're there. I'll wait to see what happens.
Yeah,
it's very useful. There was a couple of bits and pieces or gear that we used on this trip. One was the picks first. Again, the Olight headlamps and the Olight lantern was very, very handy. And, of course, the Hunt Tech puffer. We both had puffer jackets. And I tell you something, they came in real handy after we left Sydney.
Yeah, it got cold fast.
Yeah. I says that there's a photo of us around is it Lake George? Somewhere near there. Boy, I was glad I had that thing. Man, it got cold real quick.
Yeah.
And that's it, and we actually, in a way, we actually kind of fluked the weather. The first day on the way up was the coldest. The second day was wasn't, well, I wouldn't say it was mild, but it wasn't as cold. And it dropped off again on that, our last day, but it was, it was bearable. It's actually quite enjoyable. But that first morning was a really, really cold one. And luckily we were traveling there on the way rather than being there the first time. I was actually looking at the weather report, because I've still got it in as a favourite. And it was -6 there this morning.
Yeah, they said we left at the right time. It got real bitter cold and frosty and foggy and horrible. So, but yeah, look, we got just on those puffer jackets. Hunting have had some good puffer jackets out for a while. The one that I've got's called I think it's the Olaf.
Olaf.
It was their original one. It's a mid-thigh in length. It's a bit longer than the new one. Man, I'm impressed. I'm seriously impressed by those puffer. I mean, I've had my fair share of corporate, branded puffer jackets. Not so much. I mean, I've had other hunting branded ones as well, but these things are a water resistant or waterproof down inner, but they trap a serious amount of air in them, don't they? Like the puffiness of them is actually the air that gets insulated inside the jacket.
It was I think mine's the McKinnon. Is that correct?
Yours is the McKinnon, which is the new version.
Yeah, which is probably a shorter cut jacket. I preferred that. It was very, very. It was really not. It was very comfortable to wear. But yeah, it was very, very. I mean, I was actually. I was just t-shirt and puffer jacket, and I was very, very comfortable. And it would have been great if you were going out when we went out in the mornings. We didn't sit. We were moving, which was good. But in the first afternoon when Evan and I sat and glassed, I really, really noticed the temperature dropping and the effect on the body because we weren't moving. So it would have been perfect in that kind of situation where we would have been glassing if it got any colder.
Well, I tell you, I took mine with me, so it was perfect. On that cold afternoon, I
was always moving. Well, actually, where you were, it would have been perfect in that hollow. Yeah. Because but I was moving around, so I didn't need one, but certainly I would have if I had a set. So that was probably the 3 bits of gear that we used. That were certainly the picks for us. The picks for us are going with us to the territory. We want to now see if we can. There's the reason why is last time we were up there. Whilst we did really good on the buffalo and really good on the pigs and even the barra, we didn't get any donkeys. And every morning about 3 a.m., 4 a.m., they'd start braying in the distance. And by the time we got up in the first light, we'd always miss them. So we actually wanted to see if we can pick up their movement and see if we can follow them as best we can until first light. So they're going to get a workout in the territory.
Can you imagine? You look at anything after first light and it's just
going
to be blowing
scorched earth. Dante's Inferno. You're just going to see his heat.
All but useless.
So yeah, we want to see what they're like in that first light with the donkeys moving around. I was just looking at my notes. One thing that I was disappointed is the coffee in New South Wales. Jeez, it was crap.
No good.
Coffee.
It was better out of the back of the car.
Bad coffee all the way down. And expensive too. Expensive bad coffee. Very disappointing. Fix your game up, New South Wales.
Southern New South Wales, no good.
Bad coffee. I don't know if it's ski field tourism or whatever it is, but it's bad coffee.
Yep. And all of these are recommended pie shops.
Yeah,
nothing beats Pie Mechanic. I'm sorry.
I tell you something, I did like Life of Pie. I did like Life of Pie. It was more of a pie. Pie Mechanic's more like this kind of...
It's like a meal.
Yeah, it's like art. I thought the Life of Pie was more like a pie, a road pie.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is across the road from or very close to the White Hart that we were talking about, the pub. We didn't stop at the White Hart pub. We did stop at a pub, though. What was the pub we stopped at?
Oh, I forget. It was on the back road between...
I can't remember that. made a specific effort to go to that pub.
Seriously average palmy.
That's right. Where that was the trouble. You'd had fond memories of that place, and you thought, if I go back, I'll make new memories. No,
I had fond memories because we were coming back from Samba hunting 3 years ago or something like that, and it was when there were huge floods in New South Wales. All the roads were shut. We were forced onto this road, which ended up at like this holy grail at the end of the road. We were all tired. We all wanted to go to sleep. We'd all travelled too far, and here's this country pub. We're like, oh, there's the pub. We all get to rock out, and we had dogs, right? So we went to Publican, and it's like, there's 6 or 10 of us, and like, if you got rooms, able to bunk on floors, we've got our own swags, and you're like, can we let the dog inside? And they're like, yeah, no worries, yeah, we're trying to accommodate everyone. Everyone's in a shitty situation. And they gave us a couple of rooms and showers and whatever, and let the dog sleep on the floor, and, had a good feed and a few beers, a few laughs, a few games of darts and pool and whatever, and had a whale of a time. Wouldn't have mattered how bad the palmy was.
That's right.
Yeah, it was one of those memorable nights not to be revisited, apparently.
Oh, yeah, should have left it in the memories.
Yeah. We had to stop somewhere.
The other thing that was really, it wasn't disappointing, but really noticeable was, especially through Canberra, the amount of roadkill.
Yeah.
There's a patch there where you go through Canberra, not through, obviously, the Canberra, the city, but through the outskirts, and the roadkill was just phenomenal. There was
horrendous, wasn't
it? And wombats too. Which is always disappointing for us Queenslander, because we don't have wombats anymore. We killed them all off. But saw a few live ones when I was down there at Bondi, which made me happy to see live ones.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
The only other issue I had is I broke a bit of camera gear, but I've already fixed it, which happens a lot.
I don't think I had any camera gear problems. I think all the gear, any gear problems, all the gear that I took worked well, really honed in on the equipment now. Good packs, well fitted, good lights, longevity. The gear's working pretty well.
Yeah,
so I'm pretty comfortable with it.
I broke I broke the mic mount somewhere along the line, but I fixed it up. And my DJI, a little wireless mic, had a conniption fit. So when I got it home, I completely flattened it and put it on charge, and it's come back again. So it was obviously it decharged too much and wouldn't even turn on or off. Well, Starlink worked fantastically well.
Yes, I was testing a roof mount.
Yeah.
A magnetized roof mount onto the roof rack that I carefully secured with zippy ties just in case it decided to let loose. But it didn't. So Starlink all the way down and back was great. Starlink Mini on the roof of a car. Excellent.
Should we talk about next year?
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Ooh, you're going to hear it first.
Yeah. So we need to prefacate this. This is a work in progress. Sorry, not process. Progress. There is a very good chance that we will be having a Samba camp next year. So the deer camp will be a Samba camp. There's a very good chance it'll happen in early September. And there's a very good chance that the kind people from Hellenic Hunters will be a major part of the Samba camp. The rest is still to be worked out. One of the challenges of the hunt camps has been the issue with firearms in state forests and people camping in state forests. It's completely reasonable law. If you don't have a permit to hunt, you shouldn't be in a state forest with a firearm. That makes it very difficult for people to, compete for bookings, get full weeks, and all sorts of things like that. Creates all sorts of problems, which they're compliance problems, but they're we want to make sure that we comply with them. So that's really important. May have a solution to that. We're working on that. So that could very well find a way to negate that problem. The area we're in, I think, Bondi holds 80 hunters.
Yeah.
And there's nearby forests. So.
And you're not competing with a rut.
It's not a rut, so we won't be competing. So lots of those challenges that hunt camp have faced, we may very well have a solution to those things. So we're working on that.
Can I say that if our good friends at Hellenic Hunters decide to cater for such an event, you will all be well fed.
There may be, that's right, there may be a catering option, souvlaki and pita bread and tzatziki and tabbouleh and that. I don't even know what that bluefin tuna and brine was called.
That'll have a special name that neither of us can pronounce.
I want to eat it again and again and again.
That was very good, wasn't it?
Some of the tastiest food I've ever eaten, that.
And while you're there, one of the fellas has his professional Euro skull cleaning business, so you can come back with the Samba head. You can drop it on the doorstep of this back at camp, and it will be professionally cleaned and ready for you.
Really? That quick?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whether it's done that week depends how many heads come in, I guess.
That's it. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, that's his business. One of the young fellas' business is professional skull cleaning.
Wow. There you go.
So I'll be giving that a go for sure. Maybe you could come up to the territory with us, clean some buffalo heads. Make Jono happy.
The challenge is the distance. It's it's basically double Nundle for us here in Brisbane. However, the advantages far outweigh that challenge.
And you'll get to hunt something different. And
it's an easy drive. It's a long drive, but it's an easy drive. As in, it's bitumen all the way, straight down. It's actually, yes, it is. It's bitumen all the way, isn't it? Until you hit the forest.
Yeah, easy. All right, so that's the exciting news. You heard it here first. It won't be repeated in the next podcast. We've got to keep it a secret.
Okay.
So there will be limited spots, which will be
obviously. But so we're working on that. And
did you have the document that Robert Borzak Jr. shared, the bill update? Are there any notable parts of that you wanted to talk about?
Conceivably, yes.
Or is it all out of date now because
I don't know where it is.
Oh, well, we'll leave it alone. We'll get Robert on.
Yeah,
Robert,
I think tell us all about it. We met Robert Borzak Jr., as I mentioned, gave a presentation. Now, and that was the day before they had their 1 day of hearings.
Yep.
And Ned Macon spoke at that. There's video of him going around. What did someone say? Ned's the grandpa everyone needs, which I'm not sure if it's really nice to Ned. I don't think of him that way, but I can understand the compliment. So he was representing pig dog hunters and pig hunters like myself as well, rifle hunters as well. So he was well spoken and well presented there. There was some very interesting people against the bill, and their arguments were very odd, to say the least.
The friendly cat people.
Yeah, cat people, for instance. We shared a video about the Invasive Species Council, which was enlightening. You'll find it on our Facebook page. But yes, we do have an update, or we're going to get a update straight from Robert Borzak in regards to the bill to answer your questions. And in future episodes, we will also have SSAA CEO Tom Kenyon on to talk about what's happening with SSAA, and obviously to answer questions in regards to the SSAQ issue. I'm looking at my notes. Yes, I'm now published in France too.
Good job.
My Chapuis article is on the Chapuis Arms website. So France and England and Australia and New Zealand now. So there we go. And I have started writing my book.
Okay. You have?
Yeah. I've started kind of laying it out, what it's about.
Memoirs?
No, it's not memoirs.
Short stories?
No, it's about hunting with other people.
Cool.
That's where it's shaping up at the moment. It's very difficult to say where it will come out. It's about hunting with other people. And hunting with the Hellenic Hunters was just kind of another example of that.
It is a great one. I've got a journal that I started writing 10 years ago. and I stopped riding it somewhere around COVID.
Uh-huh.
I should really catch it back up again. Is it different? Yeah, we do. We'll leave Hendo out of this. Oh, shit, there we go. Oh, sorry. Anyway, moving on. If Jono was here, if you haven't noticed, he's not here because he's been fishing on Fraser Island with his bad back. Hopefully, that means he's ready to go for Buffalo. But if he was here, we would now say, cue the outro.
I thought he had to go back to South Africa. I thought they had all returned after what happened. I thought there was like an international, please return home to South Africa after the Springboks loss. I thought it was like, it was like this.
Oh, that was good.
You must return home. There's an national.
Never ever jumped up and cheered so loudly for the Wallabies in my life. Gosh, that was so good. Anyway, that'll do. Cue the outro, Jono. Catch you later.
See you later.
How do I turn this thing off?
Dunno.
There it is. Rightio, that's a wrap from the team at the Hunters Campfire. We hope you had a laugh, learned something useful, or at least were a little bit entertained. And you feel a little bit more pumped up for your next hunting, shooting, or outdoor misadventure. As always, a massive thanks for the support from our friends at SSAA and Beretta Australia. Whether you're out there chasing game, telling lies to your mates around the fire, or just trying to remember where you left your boots. Stay wild, stay curious, and for the love of all things blaze, stay safe, so we can see you back around the fire next time.